critical mass here, I'm hoping. My name is Fatmata Williams, for those of you who don't know me, and I am a Deputy Medicaid Director here at the Department of Social Services. Thank you and welcome to yet another Maternity Bundle Provider Forum. It has only been 4 months and 6 days since we launched the bundle, and we have heard from many of you with questions and comments and insights, and we appreciate all of that, and we do appreciate the engagement, the constant engagement, and we hope that this is how it's going to be until year 2, year 3, year 4, and all the way down the line. I also want to acknowledge my co-author in developing this bundle, Dr. Bradley Richards, who has been helping us even though he had taken a position in Yale. However, his last day with us was April 30th. So Dr. Bradley Richards will not be a constant attendee here in the forums moving forward. We miss him. We acknowledge the critical role that he played, but we're still here. We do have our new medical director, Dr. Jody Terranova, who's trying to get up to speed and will join us as she's able to while trying to balance other priorities within DSS. So with that said, I'm not going to take our time further. I am here. The rest of the team is here. We'll continue to engage and answer questions as best as we can. So at this point, I'll hand the presentation over to Tiffany. Tiffany, you can take it from here. Thanks again, everyone, for attending.
Thank you, Fatmata. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Provider Forum. Here you'll see our meeting's ground rules. Many of you have probably attended this, so this is probably familiar, but I'll just do a quick refresh. First and foremost, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the DSS YouTube channel. We will also be sharing today's slides and posting that to the Maternity Bundle website as well, so you'll have access to these meeting materials. We ask if you're not speaking, please mute yourself, and please limit use of the chat for technical or Zoom audio issues only. If you do have questions, like Fatmata said, we want this to be engaging and interactive, so feel free to use the Q&A feature. You can find that if you click the More button, or also feel free to just raise your hand and unmute too. In terms of our agenda for today, first and foremost, we wanted to start by sharing just a couple of program updates, reminders, and guidance that we wanted to share based on feedback that we've received so far from providers in the program. The bulk of the presentation will be surrounding providing you guys more information about the quarterly quality reports that recently went out. We are also excited to share a provider resource that'll support perinatal mothers with mental health and substance use disorders, so we'll have more on that later. And then finally, to close out, we will end with our usual Q&A period where we can answer your questions and listen to program experience to date. So getting into just a few quick program updates and guidance. First and foremost, we wanted to share a program update to allow participating maternity bundle practices to opt in for their family medicine providers to participate in the program. As a reminder for context here, prior to launching this program, DSS was contemplating whether to include family medicine providers. Based on some feedback from some practices, we had heard that for multi-specialty practices, including their family medicine providers, might have risk of accidentally including non-maternity related costs into the program. So we originally were planning to exclude them, but we also recognize that there are some maternity-focused practices who do include family medicine providers that render maternity care exclusively. And so recognizing that experience, we wanted to provide this opt-in option that will allow practices to request for their family medicine providers to be added into the program. Effectively, this is going to enable family medicine providers to receive the case rate payment as opposed to receiving the fee-for-service payment. And the family medicine provider costs for maternity care would also be included in the year-end reconciliation calculation. If your practice is interested in opting in to having your family medicine providers participate in the program, DSS will be approving and reviewing requests on a case-by-case basis throughout the first year. If you're interested, please reach out to your practice's provider engagement services representative. You can also use the general PES email listed on the slide. And then going forward in year 2 and beyond, case-by-case reviews will be done on an annual basis at the start of each program year. In addition, wanted to share a quick reminder that starting April 2025, Q2 practices are able to now initiate case rate payments for patients in their second and third trimester and also postpartum period. For the first 3 months of the program, we were only allowing practices to initiate case rate payment for patients in their second trimester. This has now been expanded so that this can be done in the third and postpartum period as well. And we have the case rate trigger event criteria listed on the slide, which I'm sure many of you guys are already familiar with. So we'll move on. And then next, I will pass it over to Kim to go over some guidance for the encounter form reporting.
Thanks, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everyone. We just wanted to let you know that we are closely monitoring the quality of encounter form submissions, and I just wanted to give all the practices some tips in common errors that we're seeing. I'm happy to provide a copy of this slide if you want to provide to your staff as like a job aid. But what we are seeing for errors when we're actually getting a report and we're reaching out to each practice if we find something like this on the encounter forms. But we're seeing either a member ID is entered incorrectly, so we're unable to find it on our end. A member ID 1 doesn't match member ID 2 because we do ask you to enter a member ID twice. And also the AVRS or CMAP provider ID is entered incorrectly and we're unable to validate it on our side. So for some tips for your users that are submitting forms into the portal, they just make sure they have the correct member ID and they're submitting it in the 9-digit format with the dashes that I have displayed on this slide. When they're entering both member IDs, that both of them match. And when submitting the CMAP provider ID, it is also in that 9-digit format with dashes. So again, the PES team, the Provider Engagement Services team, we're monitoring the encounter forms on a monthly basis. And if there are errors, just expect to hear from either myself or your regional Provider Engagement Services representative. And we'll also reach out just to encourage that you get those forms in.
Great. And then now we'll be going over the provider quality reports, and that'll be covered by Sean.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. So each of the practices should have received your first quarterly report on April 30th. I do want to highlight a couple caveats. I know we've talked about this before, but now that you've actually seen something, we just want to make sure we're connecting the dots. So I want to remind you that if you have questions, there's this maternity bundles email, or you can contact your practice's PES representative at CHN directly. Going forward, the data reports DSS will be sharing these reports on a quarterly basis. And on the next slide in a moment, we'll talk about what you can expect to see as each quarter progresses, because this first quarterly report had very limited data based on the lags. You can expect to see that second quarterly report by the end of July. We are anticipating that as each quarter goes, the processing will get faster and there'll be a little bit less of delay. But we ask that you bear with us and look at the data with caution until more data is populated in those reports. So if we can go ahead to the next slide. So we thought it would be helpful to just help you further understand the lag with the data and then what you can expect cumulatively in each quarterly report. So the reports effectively reflect a 2-month lag. So we want to give the data at least a 1 month lag to get into the claims system, and then there is a 1 month processing lag. That 1 month processing lag is the piece that we're hoping as the process continues over time, we'll be able to shorten up a bit. But because of this, new data system being into place and the fact that starting in Q3, we're going to begin pulling in that encounter form data, we can't promise that second month time frame shortening up a bit until probably later in this year going into the next performance year. So this first quarter was 1 month of data. So like I said, as a reminder, very small amount of data. Ask you to look at this with caution. The data will become more meaningful as we go through the year because it is additive and on a rolling basis. So when you get your next report in July, that will be a much more substantial and meaningful report for you. It will include January, February, March, and April, and then so on. As you can see in the chart, October will then also include May, June, July, and then for the annual report that would be available in January, you would have data through October. One other thing I do want to point out that this quarterly report does not include the full annual runout for reconciliation. So just as a reminder, reconciliation will happen a little further into 2026 to ensure you have adequate full runout for the full period. And in your packets, there is a page that will always be included that is that summary chart of the reconciliation process that shows performance as well as reporting measures and how that feeds into reconciliation. So again, as a reminder, the encounter form data will start to be reflected in Q3, and that will include doula for those practices that have opted in, the BH risk assessment measure and breastfeeding. So if we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the dials and what you're seeing. And again, this will be much more meaningful for you when you get that second quarter report because there'll be more data to compare to. But the dials on the left, so where you have cesarean birth, risk SOC, what I wanted to point out here is if there is a dial that currently does not have any available data, it will look like this lower left box. So the risk SOC with the little dash. So that we wanted to make sure that the dial itself was, or the description was still present. So you know that that's an area being looked at. But if no data is in the system yet, it will be represented without a colored dial and the dash. So kind of like a null placeholder. The other thing I want to highlight is the year-to-date measure rate trends. Once we have more months, so you will see currently it's showing 1 month, right? 01 of 2025. Once you have more months, you will be able to see multiple dots representing those measures, and we'll be able to see a trend. So the idea of that chart is that over time, you'll be able to see a trend of improvement or decrease. But obviously with 1 month of data, that chart is not meaningful for you yet. But that's how that will begin to populate. So you would see the month at the bottom and the associated dots, and you would then be able to begin to see a trend line for each measure. And then when we were putting the dashboard together, and we got feedback from some of the practices, it was asked if we could include both numerator and denominator to better understand what is informing the rates in the colored dials. So this chart on the lower right is demonstrating those numerators and denominators for you. So you have those numbers that feed into the rates. You'll also notice all the disclaimers I mentioned are in the upper right-hand corner in the red text, just to try to be there as a reminder for you. So you don't have to go digging through looking for a PowerPoint. We tried to put them in the report you'll receive monthly or quarterly, sorry. And so that should be on there for you each time, so you don't have to go looking for references there. So we can go and really quickly before you advance, I'm sorry, there'll be one page that looks like this for performance measures. So you'll see performance measures at the top. And then if we go to the next slide, there'll be a second page with similar areas that are for your reporting measures. The one piece I want to highlight on this slide, as you can see, the encounter form measures have that null representation. If your practice opted out of doula, that doula box will not be present at all for you because we didn't want to create confusion. So that box that I think Tiffany was just hovering over, the doula utilization box, that only appears if you opted into doula. If you opted out, that box will not show up at all for you. And similar to the last slide, we have the placeholder for the trends, which again will be more meaningful once we have several months to compare to, and then the numerators and denominators that feed into the rates. So if we can go to one more slide, I think I have. Oh, nope. We can go back. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know, would it be okay if I share my screen really quickly? Okay, I just wanted to make sure you all saw this before we move on. The other, can everyone see that? All right, in your PDF, you will also always have this measures descriptions page. This will be there, so if you need a reminder of how each of the measures are being described and their definitions, those are here for you to reference to in every PDF you receive each quarter. And you'll see that we also marked the 3 measures that are encounter form measures, so that you can consistently track when to expect those measures to be populated in the quarterly PDFs that you have. And then earlier I was talking about this illustrative methodology representation. So this is tied to that annual process that would be happening as we go deeper into 2026 for reconciliation, and would have a longer run out past that October date for the January quarterly report. So we would also keep your quarterly reports going. And what we are looking at is as we start to have more than one performance year, we'll be able to organize the data and the dashboard by quarter and by performance year. So that way you can start to see how that is looking, not just from quarter to quarter then, but as we move forward in the program year to year. All right, I will stop sharing. And I think that is it for the reporting.
Great, thank you, Sean. All right, just to close out for the maternity bundle related slides, just wanted to share a reminder about our list of program resources that DSS has created for providers. So that includes, documents related to the program overview, much more technical details in the program specifications, code list, some billing examples and payment file examples, a couple of resources around quality and reporting, and then also some other areas for doula integration. If you have any questions related to anything we've just covered or the program in general, again, you can always contact the PES team through your representative directly or the overall maternity bundle email. And with that, we have one more provider resource that we wanted to share for providers. So I will be passing it on to Beth.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and to talk with you about a resource for you, which is the Access Mental Health and Substance Use for Moms program. This is our state's perinatal psychiatric consultation line for providers. And so, Tiffany, you can go to the next slide. And today, when I talk through, I know we have a short time, I want to just go through kind of an overview of the program, talk a little bit about the model and its key components, and then most importantly, how you can access the support as needed. And so first, the program is fully funded by the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. So that means that this program is free to you and free to your patients, regardless of insurance. And the program provides in real time access to seasoned perinatal psychiatrists, so board certified adult psychiatrists who have the specialty training in that perinatal mental health and substance use disorder conditions during pregnancy and postpartum that are available to you to help support your treatment for your patients. And the program is available to all providers. While I recognize the majority of folks that are on the phone today are obstetric providers, the program is also available to your family physicians, pediatricians, and even psychiatrists. It's pregnant and postpartum individuals up to 12 months who are presenting with mental health or substance use concerns. And again, this is regardless of insurance. We are statewide and available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And we also offer training and toolkits, which I'll go through in a little bit. Next slide. And so very simple, here is the program model. As I mentioned, this is available to you. And it's really, if you are feeling stuck, if you recognize that your patient may be struggling with mental health or substance use concerns and you're not really sure what to do, all you have to do is pick up the phone. There's one toll-free number, 833-978-6667. You call and you'll get access to our psychiatry team from Yale in real time to talk through what your questions are and get help. And so essentially what some of the questions entail, it could be diagnostic clarification, it could be questions about medication, it could be recommendations for counseling, and or also support with connecting your patient to mental health or substance use treatment by accessing our resource and referral support team. And so you would call the phone number, you can ask your question, you can ask for that resource and referral support, and then our resource and referral support team would outreach directly to your patient over the phone, work with them. What has mom tried before? What's mom's insurance? What are the folks that are available in the area? Our team is going to do the legwork for mom. It's not just providing a phone number of the clinic down the street. It's really taking time to find out if there's if mom needs talk therapy with a provider that is trained in postpartum depression. Our team is going to outreach to that provider. Are they taking new patients? Do they accept mom's insurance? Our team's going to do that legwork for mom and then help mom connect to those services. And the last component is also a face-to-face evaluation or consultation that our psychiatry team will also do. So if you are feeling stuck and you really want that second opinion, you can ask for a face-to-face evaluation, and our psychiatry team will meet with your patient directly, do an evaluation, and then connect with you on next steps and recommendations for treatment. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, another component is our training and toolkit arm of our model. And so what I have here on the slide is information about our Access Mental Health Clinical Conversation Series. This is a free webinar series for you that's available the second Thursday of every month from 12:30 to 1:30. It is a live session, so you can ask your questions. It's also recorded and we post it on our website. And so what I have here is a link to register for our clinical conversation series. If you click that link and once you get the slides, you can go in and register for the upcoming trainings. I've also included the last few months of our webinars so that you can see that there are recordings available. Next slide. We've also developed a provider toolkit, and I wanted to emphasize this today for you as well. I know a lot of folks are working on screening your patients for mental health and substance use, and if you get stuck, you're not really sure what screen or tool to use, you can always pick up the phone and talk to our psychiatrist, but there's also this toolkit, and a fair amount of the toolkit does outline best practices in screening, as well as if you have a positive screen, what do? You can call, and our team can also help connect your patient to services. In addition to screening, there's also a fair amount of treatment, best practice treatment recommendations. So if you're interested in starting medication for depression during the perinatal period, there are treatment algorithms within this toolkit. So I encourage you to check it out. And today I also wanted to just take a moment and share some of our outcomes to date. As I mentioned earlier, the program is available to all medical providers who are recognizing that that mom needs some support. So obstetricians, midwives, pediatricians, family physicians, and adult psychiatrists are using the program. Our program launched in June 2022. And so our data goes through December 2024. And in that time, the program has provided 2,667 consultations to providers supporting 439 perinatal individuals. And I just wanted to call out, again, this is all moms across the state, regardless of insurance, but about half of the individuals served year to date or program to date has been Medicaid members. Of those in which the calling provider has requested that our team outreach to mom and connect her to services, 344 moms have received resource and referral support and connected to services. And so again, going back to that, taking that time, vetting the resource, helping mom connect to those services. It can be mental health, it could be substance use treatment, it could be psychiatry in the community, it could also be basic needs, parenting, support groups, et cetera. So we have that as well. And as I mentioned, we have, I think it actually might be a little higher now. We have at least 24 training sessions recorded and posted on our website. So I want to make sure that I call attention to that. The other thing that I didn't mention is of the 439 individuals that have been supported program to date, it also includes some fathers who have experienced postpartum or perinatal depression. And so it's not just to our moms, we're also recognizing that our parents are impacted during this period, and we can support that as well. Next slide. And so just to kind of include some feedback, I wanted to share. I'm not going to read all of the quotes. You will get access to this information afterwards, but some provider feedback to date from a midwife in Fairfield. The ability to call and get guidance has been a game changer for me. It's an amazing service to be able to get medication advice and referrals for patients with a single phone call is remarkable. Resources are excellent. And lastly, I feel better about knowing how to respond to a positive screen. Next slide. And I also wanted to include some patient feedback. And so for moms who their treating provider called and requested resource and referral support, thank you so much again. Just knowing your program exists made me feel less alone and gave me hope in my hardest days so far. You've been so helpful to me at a time in my life when I really needed it. So thank you, sincerely. Thank you for continuing to check in with me because I probably would never have sought out the help I needed. And honestly, recognizing that the prevalence of mental health and substance use, anxiety, depression during the perinatal period is 1 in 5. And many moms are not getting treatment. We want to just recognize that, that the treatment is out there and we can help you help your patients. Next slide. So again, all you have to do is pick up the phone. We have that statewide phone number. It's free to you. It's free to your patients. We're available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and I've included our website. And if folks have direct questions about the program, I can put my email in the chat. More than welcome to reach out to me directly, or you can call our 833-978-6667. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. Paula, I see your hand up.
Hi. Thank you, Elizabeth, for all of the work that your team is doing for this. I have a question. Can we have a fax referral also? I think it would be important for our doctors and providers who are using EMR, if they know that the patient needs to have a prompt referral, that we could do a straight referral that way as opposed to calling. I think it really will help the program grow. It's difficult when we have to hand off and make phone calls, I think, in day-to-day practice. And I didn't hear you mention any kind of fax referral with this program. And I asked my team, and my team doesn't recall that either. So
Yeah.
I think that would be really a value for a large group like ours.
I appreciate the suggestion. At this time, we are not doing fax or email requests, that it is a phone call and that all phone calls are directed to the psychiatrist for a quick conversation. Our state, Connecticut, has this program where we're one, and actually I think there may be up to now 20 different states across the country. And very few are doing the fax, but we will take that into account and see if we can to modify, and we'll keep you posted. As of right now, it is a straight phone call. Thank you, Paula.
All right. If there's no other questions, and also welcome questions generally around access mental health in the Q&A, I think we'll move forward to our general questions segment. I do see a couple in the Q&A, so we can just go over those real quick. One question that's been answered so far is just a reminder of the time frame for encounter form submissions. So that should be, we're hoping regular encounter form submissions are expected within 30 days of the end of the birthing person's postpartum period. And then they definitely must be submitted within 30 days at the end of the performance year to be included at the reconciliation performance year measure calculations. A follow-up to that question, are there claims for these encounters? Are the claims for these encounters required within 3 months of each encounter?
This is Kim. I would say no. DSS does have a 1-year timely filing limit, but it's probably prudent to get those claims in, so it's part of the reconciliation.
Yeah, and this is Sean, if I could chime in, that would also impact what's reflected in the data. So if the claims are further delayed, then that would not be reflected in the quarterly dashboard. Potentially.
Thank you. Our next comment, we have recently come across a few members with coverage lapses. We understand that members who are not part of a maternity episode should not lose coverage, but recognize there may be information the member needs to provide to ensure continuous coverage throughout the pregnancy episode. What is the best process to resolve these coverage lapses? Is this something we can assist the patient with? If so, what is the best contact to provide the patient with? Or that we can use ourselves.
Thanks, Tiffany, and thanks for the question. I know that providers have been reaching out to CHN, specifically Kim, and that can work for now, but we are trying behind the scenes to work out a process where we can seamlessly maybe establish some sort of an escalation where we can get those resolved quickly. So that is on me. I still have to get back to CHN, but in the meantime, providers can continue to contact CHN PES, specifically Kim. Thank you.
Thanks, Fatmata. Our next question in the Q&A, there are no targets in the dashboard. Will targets be set for each measure so we can assess our overall performance? Sean, do you want to cover this one?
You repeat that, please?
Yep. The comment was there are no targets on the dashboard. Will targets be set for each measure so we can assess our overall performance?
Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I think right now, given the kind of the quality of the data and what we're looking at, it'll be a while before we're able to set any reasonable targets. And in the end, no reasonable target could actually be set for the ongoing until several years after the start of the program, and we have a longer kind of runway. That in no way is going to tie into the reconciliation that'll happen at the end of the performance year. So though you could derive a target, the actual reconciliation, the shared savings is based on the point in time analysis and the cost as of then. So we could set a target that could give you an idea directionally if you will garner any shared savings, but we couldn't actually put one together that you could tie to actual shared savings, reconciliation, and funds at the end of the performance year.
Yeah, and even that kind of directional idea, we don't have enough data yet to be able to include that. We did talk about including that in the dashboard going forward when we have an adequate amount of data to give you something reasonable.
Thank you. Our next question, will the subsequent quality reports reconcile claims received post 90 days? Our team is reacting to a note of the postpartum care definition document that states, note the reporting timeline based on the DSS directive for providers to submit claims in a timely manner. Each reporting period will conclude 1 month after the end of the measurement period, which is 90 days after the last day of eligible live birth deliveries, allowing for 1 month run out period to receive additional claims. And you can read that in the Q&A section as well. So to repeat the question, I believe that's, will the subsequent quality reports reconcile claims received post 90 days?
Yes, I think if I understand the answer correctly, you have more time to submit the live birth information in for it to hit the system. So as we compile more of the dashboards, we will have a larger kind of look back for the births that are included in the dashboard. And I think that's the question there. Just for this one, all we have is the 90 plus the 1 month run out. But for subsequent ones, we'll be able to look back over a period of time.
Right, right. And that's why I also mentioned that for the reconciliation itself, there will be a longer than the 1 month run out to get the full set of data to make sure that all of those claims are appropriately included. But for the purposes of the dashboard, we had landed on 1 month run out to try to get you data at a faster incremental time period.
If it's helpful at a future forum, Tiffany, we can go over the timeline for reconciliation, and that would give folks a better idea of what the data period is that we'll capture for the shared savings. And it may add a little bit of color to how the dashboards are really a separate kind of entity in terms of program quality and monitoring, as opposed to payment related to the shared savings.
That would be great. Any additional questions? Welcome you to raise your hand or submit them to the Q&A. Okay, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and close out this meeting then. Like we've mentioned, you have this CHN PES team available for questions, so feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to answer your questions, and we really appreciate and welcome the feedback that we've received so far. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.